What's up, Nurse Cheung Bestie? Welcome to Math Bootcamp with Mr. Cheung. It's me! In this video series, we're going to cover each and every single topic that you need to know for the math section of the ATI exam, and we're going to go through some practice questions together. So in this video, we're going to focus on conversion between fraction, decimal, and percentages. Let's get started. So first, we're going to do some practice question on converting decimal and percentages. There's a mnemonic that is super easy. I'm going to show it to you. So the mnemonic we're going to do is decimal to percentage. What it means is every time we move from a decimal to percentages, look at this. We move 2 to the right, 2 times to the right. And now, on the other hand, when we move from percentages to decimal, we move the decimal 2 times back to the left. So let's do some practice and see how this works. So for the first one, we got 0.45. So based on this mnemonic, D to P, all we need to do is move the decimal 2 times to the right. We've got 45%. Now let's move on to the next one and see how this works again. 0.09. All we need to do is move decimal 2 times to the right. We got 9%. Now the third one, 1.25. What does that mean? Once we move the decimal 2 times to the right, we will get 125%. So on the last example, we got 0.007. So how does that work? All we need to move is move the decimal 2 times to the right. We'll got 0.7%. And that will be our answer. So let's move on to the next topic. This time, we're going to do the reverse, right? We need to practice both, converting percentages to decimal, interchangeably. So this time, we're going to move from percentage to decimal. Remember the mnemonic? D to P. And this time we're going to focus on moving from the P back to decimal, back to the D. So let's do some practice. So the first one we have 75%. All we need to do is move decimal 2 times to the left. We got 0.75. Our next example, we got 4%. All we need is add some 0 at the beginning, right? If you're a little unsure. And then we move the decimal 2 times to the left, right? So our answer will be 0.04. The next one, we got 125.8%. All we need to do is move the decimal 2 times to the left. We got 1.258. And for our last example, we got 0.03%. We're missing a lot of 0 up front, right? So if you're not sure, let's add some 0 at the beginning, right? 0.03%. That will help you, understand how many 0 you need to add. Now, all we need to do is move the decimals 2 times to the left. We'll got 0.0003. And that will be our answer. And that's it. Just that simple. Now let's move on to a little bit more complicated problems. So now, next thing we need to learn how to do is convert decimal to fraction. It's super easy. We just need to find out which one will be our numerator, how many 0 we need to add to the 1 to be our denominator. So how does that work? On example 1, we got 0.4 right here. 0.4, right? We know that 4 will be our numerator. So how many 0 we need to add at the bottom after the 1? Since we only have 1 unit, we only add 1 0. So the first step is we got 4 over 10. But that's not all, right? We need to simplify it. Because in math, we need to simplify the answer to be the correct answer. So how do we do that? We can see both 4 and 10 can be divided by 2. So that's the first step of simplify. So we have 2 left on the top and 5 at the bottom. Can we simplify anymore? Let's think about it. No, we can't, right? 2 and 5, there's no common number that can be divided. So now we know that 0.4, when you convert to fraction, is equal to 2 over 5. All right, for our next example, we got 3.28. So how do we convert that to a fraction? So first, we know that anything before the decimal as a whole unit, we don't really need to convert, right? They're just 3. All we worry about when we convert decimal to fraction is the unit, all the unit after the decimal, or on the right side of the decimal. So in this case, on top, we got 28, our numerator. We add the 1 at the bottom first. And how many units we have on 28? We have 2 units, right? So we add 2 0, right? The basic form is 3.28 is equal to 3 and 28 over 100. And we haven't finished it, right? We need to simplify it. So how do we do that? So let's see. Let's think about this. What is the common thing that we can divide on both 28 and 100? We can divide it by 2, right? So we're going to divide it by 2, top and bottom, right? Next, we're going to get 14 over 50. Can we simplify further? Yes, we can, right? We can still continue divided by 2. So let's divide it by 2 again on top and bottom. So what we have left? What we have left is 7 over 25. Can we convert it any further? 7 and 25? No, we can't. So this will be the most simplest form for 3.28 will be 3 and 7 over 25. And that would be your correct answer. Let's move to our next practice, right? We got 12.75. Let's set this up. We know that any digit left side of the decimal, we don't have to convert. So we got 12 as a whole number. And now we got 75 over what? 100, right? Since we got 2 units behind the decimal, we put 1 and then 2 0. Next, we just need to simplify, right? 75 over 100. What can we divide? 5, right? So we can divide it both 5 on the top and the bottom. So what we get? We'll get 12 over 75 divided by 5 is equal to 15. 100 divided by 5 is equal to 20. Can we convert it even further? Yes, we still can, right? We can still continue divided by 5, both top and bottom. So our final answer will be 12, 3 over 4. Perfect. So now our last practice, we got 0.0075. So how do we set this up? We put 75 on the top, right? We know that it all starts with 1. But how many 0 we need to add? So let's see. We got 1 unit, 2 unit, 3 unit, 4 unit behind the decimal. So we know that right here, we need to add 4 0. Okay? That's not it, right? We need to simplify this. So how do we simplify? So let's see. Oh, we for sure we can divide it by 5. 75 divided by 5 equal to 15 over 2 0 0 0, 2000. So after that, can we divide it anymore? Can we simplify anymore? Yes, we can. We can divide it 5 one more time, right? So this will be equal to 3 over 400. Can we divide it anymore? No. 400, we can divide it more. So the final answer for this will be 3 over 400. And that's it. Just like that. Simple. So now let's move on to the next section. So now the next thing is we need to learn how to convert fraction to decimal. There's 2 ways to do it. So since in your exam, you're going to given a 4-function basic calculator, so a lot of these questions can be answered with a calculator. So let's see how this works. So for our first example, we got 7 over 8. So all you need to do on your calculator is 7 divided by 8 is equal to 0.875. So the correct answer is 0.875. But just in case your calculator decides to act funky on you during the exam, I'm going to teach you how to convert fraction to decimal using long division. So how we convert fraction to decimal using long division? Well, let's set this up. We got 7 in the inside, 8 on the outside. We just need to divide. So first thing first is, can we divide 7 by 8? We cannot, right? So we know that since this is our unit right here, right? Our answer will have 0 and a decimal. That would be our first step because we cannot divide 7 with 8. And what is the next step? We pull this down and add a 0 behind it. Now, with us adding a 0 is equal to 70, can 70 divided by 8? Yes, we can, right? So with 8, we know that 8 times 8 is equal to 64, right? So 70 minus 64 will have 6 left, right? So the way to do long division is we just keep adding 0 behind until you can't divide it anymore, right? Or until you got a very, very long number. So in this case, now we have 60. Can 60 divided by 8? Yes, we can, right? We can continue divided that with 7. 7 times 8 is equal to 56, right? So 60 minus 56 will have 4 left. Now we add another 0 behind it, 40. Can 40 divided by 8? Yes, it's 5, right? So now 5 times 8 equal to 40. And 40 minus 40, we got 0. 0, that's the end. So now with this long division, we know that 7 over 8 is equal to what? 0.875. Let's practice one more, right? We have 23 over 50. So with using a handy dandy calculator, we know that 25 divided by 50 is equal to 0.46. So let's do this using a long division. We got 23 over 50. We already know, right? 50 is way more than 23, so we can't divide that. So we're going to mark this right here and put a 0 and a decimal. Okay, so the next step is we're going to add a 0 behind it. So now we have 230. Can 230 divide by 50? Yes, we can, right? We know that we can divide it by 4. We got 200, and we're left with 30. So now we add another 0 behind it. Now it becomes 300. Can 300 be divided by 50? Yes, we know we can, right? We can divide it by 6 because 6 times 50 equal to 300. Once you minus that, equal to 0. Voila, that's it. It's done. So with long division, we can also find out that 23 over 50 is equal to 0.46. Now let's do another tricky one. 355 over 113. So by using a calculator, 355 divided by 113 is equal to 3.1415992 and so on and so forth. So we know that this is going to be a long number. So in this case, it depends on what your question asks, what unit you need to round to, then you can round up your answer. So for this, in this case, we're going to round it, let's say, to the 100 right here. This is the 100, right? So we're going to round this up close to 3.14. So let's do this in the long division. And this is going to be a long one. So let's do this together. 355 over 113, right? So we already know that 355 is at least 2 to 3 times more than 113, right? So let's do 3, and let's see what we got. 3 times 113 equal to 339. Yep, perfect. It's under 355, so we know that 3 is definitely correct. So let's minus that. We got 16 left, right? So we know that this is our unit, right? Remember, this is our unit. So we make sure we add a decimal right here. Then we can start adding 0. So 116, yeah, more than 113. We can divide that, right? So let's put 1 right here. We got 113. And then we're going to minus that. We'll get 47. Now let's add another 0, right? So 113 over 470. Yeah, we can divide that by 4, right? 4. So what we have is 452. Then we're going to have 18 left. So now it really depends on the question, what unit you need to round up to. If you need to round it up to the 100, we'll divide it one more time just to make sure if this is a round up or round down, right? So 118 divided by 113, we know that that can be divided by 1, right? 113 will have 67 left. So just to be sure, right? So we know that on the thousands unit right here is 1. So we know that if we need to round up or round down, this will be the most important unit. And since it's less than 4, we know that it's round down. So now we know that 3.14. That will be the correct answer. So now let's do our final example. 33 over 19. So let's use our calculator. 33 divided by 19 is equal to 1.7368421. Okay, so this time let's round it to the 100 again. So this time, if we round it, it will be equal to 1.74 because the unit after the 100, the thousands unit, is more than 4. So we know that that is a round up. So once we round it up, it will be close to 1.74. So let's do this in a long division style because we love to do it in the long division. So we got 33 divided by 19. 19 times 1 equal to 19. 19 times 2 equal to 38. 38 is more than 33, so that doesn't work. So all we know is it can divide by 1 equal to 19. Once you minus that, it's equal to 14. So now, since we know that we need to continue to divide, right? So we need to add the decimal. Don't forget that decimal before we add a 0 behind it so we can continue. So we know that 140 divided by 19 is roughly 7. So we can put 7 right here, right? It will be equal to 7 times 19 equal to 133. Once we minus that, equal to 7. So now next, right? We add another 0 behind it. So now we have 70. because 3 times 19 is equal to 57. 57 is less than 70, right? So we're good there. So 70 minus 57 is equal to 13, right? And since we need to round to the 100, we need to do it one more time just in case it's a round up situation, right? So we add another 0. So 130 divided by 19, we can say it can divide it by 6, right? Because when we divide it by 6, it's equal to 114, okay? So 130 minus 114 is equal to 16. And we still have some left. But since our answer that requested is rounded to the 100, we can stop right here. We can see the 1000 unit right here, and it's bigger than 4. We can round up, so we will get our answer to 1.74. See, we learned something new, right? Long division. Make sure you kind of know how to do long division, because that is very important when we're trying to do roots. But that will be it for you to master how to convert fraction to decimal. The best way to do it is calculator, but just in case that didn't work, make sure you brush up how to do long division. Then you're good to go. Nothing will stop you by getting a good score in the math section. So let's move on to the next practice. For this practice question now, they want us to convert from fraction to percentage. It's a two-step process, but we can do this, right? So with using our handy dandy calculator, first step we need to convert it from fraction to decimal. So for the first practice question, we got 5 over 12. So we know that it's 5 divided by 12 is equal to roughly 0.416666667. So how do we convert this to percentage? Remember the mnemonic? D to P. We just need to move it, the decimal, 2 times to the right. So let's move it 2 times to the right. We'll get 41.666667. And it depends on what the question wants. Then you need to round it to the certain unit. So we're going to keep this simple. We're going to round it to the hundreds. So let's find our thousands unit, which is right here. We know that it's more than 4, right? So we know that that will be rounding up. So if we round up, your answer will be 41.67%. Super easy. So let's move on to the next one. The next one we have 3 over 7. Using our handy dandy calculator again, 3 divided by 7, we will have 0.42857.143. We move the decimal 2 times to the right, so we will get 42.857.143. Next step, we round it to the hundreds again. So let's locate the 1000, which is right here, and it's more than 4. We know that we need to round up, so we will get 42.86%. Super quick and super easy. Love it. So now, let's move on to the next one. 16 over 7. So we know that 16 divided by 7 is equal to 2.28571429. Using the mnemonic, we need to move the decimal 2 times to the right. So we will have 228.571429. So now we're going to locate 1000, which is right here. 1 is less than 4, so we know that that will be a round down. So we will get 228.57% as our answer. So now for our last one, we got 990 over 121. So using our handy dandy calculator, 990 divided by 121 is equal to 8.18.18181818. So now, using the mnemonic, we're going to move the decimal 2 times to the right. To convert a decimal to percentage, we will get 818.181818. And now we're going to locate the 1000 unit, which is right here. It's 1. So it's less than 4. So we know that we need to round down. So our answer will be 818.18%. The fraction to percentage is just a 2-step process. First, you need to convert it to decimal. And then after you got the decimal, you just need to use the mnemonic, move the decimal 2 times to the right, and add a percentage behind it. And voila, you got it. All right. So for our last part is to convert percentage to fraction. How do we do that? So our first example, we have 87%. So we will put 87 as your numerator, okay? We know that underneath it is always 100% as a total. 100% is a total, right? So we always put 100. So since there's no decimal unit here, this setup will be 100% correct. It's 87 over 100. The next step Mr. Cheung always like to do, right, is can we simplify it? 87 over 100. We cannot. So in this case, we know that 87% to convert to fraction, it will be 87 over 100, and that will be it. So now, for our next example, we have 12.5%. So how do we set this up, right? So we know that on the top, we got 12.5, right? Over, we always put 100 at the bottom first. So we know that in fraction, we shouldn't have any decimal, right? So how do we do that? We're going to move this decimal to the right here, to make 12.5 become 125, right? And since we moved the decimal one time to the right, at the bottom, we need to add a 0 behind it to make it even. Since we move something, we add a 0 behind it. So in this case, the setup will be 125 over 1000. So now, what is the next step? The next step is going to be, we simplify it. Always love to simplify. They both can divide it by 5. So we know that is 25 over 200. Okay. Can we continue to divide it to simplify? Yes, we can. We can both divide it by 5 again, both top and bottom, equal to 5 over 40. Can we simplify more? Absolutely. We can divide it 5 one more times, both top and bottom. Then it will get our final answer, 1 over 8. So let's do one more practice, right? We got 225.3%. So how do we do this? We're going to set this up, right? 225.3 over, let's set it up as 100 first to keep it simple, right? So now we know that we have decimal here. We need to move this decimal 1 unit to the right. It'll cause us to add a 0 at the bottom. So what we got? What we got here will be 2253 over 1000. Okay? We need to simplify this, right? So we know that for simplification, within 2253, we got 2 1000, right? So let's put the 2 out as a whole number. What we have left is 253 over 1000. Can we simplify anymore? So in this case, we cannot. So our final answer will be 2 and 253 over 1000. And that will be our final answer. So now for our final example, we got 0.0002%. Ooh, that's a long one. So let's set this up. We got 0.0002 over, always set it up as 100 first. Okay? So now we have a lot of decimal to move, right? So we need to move the decimal 1, 2, 3, 4 times to the end, right? So since we move it 4 times, you know what? That's what we need to do. We need to add 4 zeros to make it even. What we got is 2 over 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 0. Okay? And this is a quick simplification, right? We know that both can divide it by 2. So once you divide it by 2, you have 1 over 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0. And that will be our answer. Ba-bang! Super easy. So once you know the steps, we always put the entire percentage on the top, including the decimal, over 100. And then the next step is if you have decimal number, you start moving the decimal to the right. How many times you need to move it to the right to form a whole number is how many zeros you need to add at the bottom. And then you start simplifying, then you will get the correct answer. And that will be it. And that's everything you're going to need to know when it comes to converting between fraction, decimal, and percentages. As always, if you have any question, make sure you leave them down below. We love answering your question. And head over to nursecheungstore.com where there's a tons of additional resources to help you feel more confident when it comes to your ATI exam. And as always, I'll catch you on the next video. Bye!